See, when God speaks to you, you're never obligated to obey. You're just giving the opportunity to follow and trust. But if you hear God's voice, listen to me, if you hear God's voice and you do not respond to his voice, it hardens your heart and it makes your ears dull of hearing, and there'll become a day where you will never hear God's voice and you will not believe that God even speaks. But if you hear God speak and you treasure his voice and you will lean into his voice, you will step into life and you will live. I was speaking at an event in Toronto, and this atheist came up to me. His name was John. He was from China. He was an engineer, and he said, "You're talking about the voice of God. What does God's voice sound like?" I said, "You're an atheist?" He goes, "Yes." And I said, "What are you doing here at this event?" He goes, "Well, a friend invited me." I said, "No, I mean, what are you doing here right now?" He goes, "What do you mean? I want to know what God's voice sounds like." I said, "Well, it sounds like nothing because you're an atheist, so he doesn't exist, so there's no voice." He goes, "No, I want to know what it sounds like to you." I said, "You're an atheist, right, John?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "Why are you here right now?" He goes, "Because I want to know." And I said, "No, why are you talking to me?" I said, "You know what God's voice sounds like? It's kind of hard because most of the time God's voice sounds like my voice, which can be very confusing. Sometimes if he's mad, he can sound like my mom. But there's so many voices in my head. There's a cacophony of voices screaming at me. And a lot of those voices I have allowed to become me. So sometimes it's really hard to hear God's voice. But when I want to give up, sometimes there's a little voice that says, "Nah, you can do this." Have you ever had a voice inside of you when you're just filled with despair and that voice says, "No, there's hope"? You know that all the voices inside of you said you're just not worthy of love, but then there's that little voice that says, "No, you're the object of love." Have you ever had that voice in your head that disagrees with you and you don't know how it's there because it's still you, right? So how can that voice argue with you when it's you? He goes, "Yeah, I know." I said, "You're an atheist, right?" He goes, "Yes." I said, "Is there a little voice in your head saying, there is a God, there is a God, there is a God?" And you know there's no God because you're an atheist, you're an engineer, you're intelligent, and you know there's no God. But that little voice in your head, it will not cooperate with everything you know. I said, it's like a parasite eating away at your brain, eating away at your reason, and you can't stop it, just saying, "There's a God, there's a God, there's a God." He goes, "Yes." He goes, "It's like a parasite in my head. It keeps telling me there's a God, and I know there's not, but it keeps saying, 'Yes, there is, yes, there is.'" I said, "John, that parasite in your head, that's God. That's God eating away at your doubt and your fear." See, God has a way of eating away at your despair and your hopelessness. God has a way of just silencing all the voices that steal life from you to become the voice that gives life to you.